Some people have this threshold of like, oh my God, if I show up on a video, I need to be full makeup, full hair, full everything. But at the same token, you also want to be yourself. And that goes for any kind of content.
Welcome to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast, where every week, Kirsten and Jeanne dive into the essential topics to fuel your business growth. From copywriting to course creation, mindset to video marketing, they've got you covered. Tune in for expert guest interviews on all things marketing and business, and learn how to work on your business, not just in it. So, get ready to unlock your business potential and take it to the next level.
Welcome, everyone, to our podcast episode today. We are very excited. We have a special guest. Her name is Nina Froriep. Her company is called Clockwise Production. Nina is an award-winning producer, documentary filmmaker. She's done so many amazing things. But today, we're going to talk about leveraging LinkedIn.
I think with LinkedIn, what I really liked is that it is, first of all, it's easy to navigate. And with LinkedIn, I just felt it was very clean. It was very organized, and it spoke to the audience that I was looking for, which are professionals, which are service-based professionals, but it innately just felt right to be there. So LinkedIn just became a place where I felt that I fit, I was heard, and I was getting the traction, the clients I wanted.
We're so excited that you're going to share with our audience today some tips of things that you use and that you share with your clients to help them be more productive on LinkedIn.
So number one, we're going to talk about permission to shine. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
So this really is a holdover sort of from my initial coaching work that I did with clients where we talked about video only, right? And that was video for any social media platform, not just LinkedIn. The learning how to shoot yourself with your smartphone, or even how to edit a simple clip, or posting on whatever social media platform. If my clients are mostly boomers and Gen Xers, and it was always a mindset game. And it was really about giving yourself permission to show up for yourself, for your business, for your passion, for your expertise, for the authority in the field that you are, and not hold back. That is only possible and sustainable if you're coming from a place of authenticity and you being you, and not you trying to be somebody and holding up something that you are not really in reality. For me, that was such a watershed moment where I'm like, okay, so what we're learning and teaching our clients for video is really true across the board. And that's where sort of that transition started happening, where I'm like, I'm not just helping people with video. These disciplines that we're all working with in the marketing and sales field, in the digital world, there's so much overlap on everything.
We have a really good friend who is a lawyer, and she went to a conference and they were talking about video. So this is well over a decade ago. And the attorney said, a lot of you are nervous to get on camera. You're afraid to get on camera. And he said, but has anyone ever walked into your office and said, oh my God, you're so ugly, I can't work with you, and turned around and walked out, right? So I always try to tell people, like, you're out networking, you're talking to your family, we look like what we look like, right? Mm-hmm. Which often scares people. If your photos don't look like you, which we had happen a few times, we see people's photographs for the interviews, and then the person who arrives, you're like, is that really that person? Right. So I think one of the powers in video is people know that what they see is what they're going to get. And obviously that's changing a little bit with AI, but I think video is so powerful. I often tell people, you attend a networking event and you network for that hour or two or whatever it is. But when you create an awesome video that is just providing value and education, it's like you're networking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And that's what I want. I don't want to show up in full makeup. I mean, to me, full makeup is very little anyway to begin with. But some people have this threshold of like, oh my God, if I show up on a video, I need to be full makeup, full hair, full everything. But at the same token, you also want to be yourself. And that goes for any kind of content, whether it is photo or video, or your voice is your voice, whether it's visual or written. That should always sort of be consistent.
And Jeanne and I joke, we have a problem with that because we're two owners of a business who have very different voices, right? Mm-hmm. So when it comes to creating content together, sometimes that's a challenge. We like to joke that we bicker like 6-year-olds when we're trying to write sales copy or content together. Mm-hmm. But it is important to have both of our voices show up.
Those are two very different things. So you need the time to plan, to execute on it, and then to have the time to post it. So if we run a big program, we want to talk about that at least 6 weeks out. at least. And if it's something smaller, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And again, it depends. Is it a $10,000 project or is it a $50 investment for our clients? And depending on if it's $50, we can go shorter notice. If it's 1,000, 10,000, then we need to have a long ramp, right, to get there. So that kind of strategy is really important. But then on top of that, and this is where people get sloppy, is what does a post look like? Like, what are the elements that need to go into a post for a post to be effective? I have a long list of pet peeves, but things like posting without a call to action. You might as well just not be posting at all. The call to action never has to be a salesy thing. It can be simple as leave a comment below when you give them a very concise question about the topic you just talked about, to make it easy and quick. Because if I have lurkers, and 90% of all people hanging out on LinkedIn they never post, they rarely engage. If I keep asking questions, one day they'll be like, this is a question I want to answer. And now I know who Mary Jane is, and I can grab her and say, hey, thank you for commenting on my post. What did you find the most interesting? And now I know who my audience is. And if I don't ask questions of my audience, they will not interact because they're not called to do so. So call to action is super important. And then contextualizing your content. I mean, the list goes, there's 7 points. So there's a lot of small things we can do. And if we do them regularly and consistently, and we have a routine around them, then we can focus on the creative part of writing awesome content that people will want to read or engage with.
That's incredible. Yeah, I think it's so important to take the time to plan. And I think, like you said, people don't think far enough out. You've got a launch coming up. You have all these things that need to happen. And content creation is a lot more fun and a lot easier when you're not under the gun.
So at least when you do write last minute, then at least you know why you're doing what you're doing and to whom you're talking. And those are the clients who the dog throws up and the child has a fever and the husband is sick and there's an emergency, something or other. And life happens every single day to all of us. So do yourself a favor and write your stuff in advance and have it scheduled, or have a VA to post it the day of if you have a good rhythm established.
Yeah, we always encourage our clients to work ahead of time, just like you do. And then if there's something that they feel inspired to post that day, then you're free to do so.
Exactly. And I always say, like, you need to have a library. And that's sort of where I really encourage everybody always to batch produce, especially videos. The only way to survive the video game is to batch produce. But all your other content too, like if we have a series of 6 videos introducing a bigger new product, or any product, then we have pre-produced videos and or JPEGs that lead into that product. And if we're smart about how we create it, we can actually recycle it for the next time.
It's so funny because I always think we have a video that we talk about. It's easy to create a course. It's hard to sell it.
Yes.
Right. I think people don't look, we all love teaching and educating. So creating the course is fun and it's exciting. And in most cases, it's relatively easy. But what people don't realize that the real effort and time goes into the marketing of it. So I think it's so awesome that you're coaching people on how to get out ahead of it. And I was kind of laughing to myself when you said batch content. You're number 3 out of our 4 interviews for today. So on Tuesdays, we have 4 podcast interviews, 2 for each of our podcasts. And then we actually have a coaching call this afternoon. So we kind of cram a lot. But then we know what we're doing today, and we're kind of, it's all in the same framework. So other than a team meeting that we have in the morning, like everything is, we're engaged with you guys because this is what we're focusing on. We're not focused on doing a million other tasks.
And I also think, especially for us ladies, if we do want to put a little bit more effort in making sure that we're coiffed well and have a little makeup on, if I sit down to do video, I will not want to just do 1 or 2. I want to do, I'm seasoned at this now. I can, depending on what the content is, can pull off up to 15 in one sitting, which if they're just teensy little videos is easy enough. But I just want to make sure that even if I don't edit them immediately, if I self-edit, they're done, right? They're in my pocket. I have them. And if I always say, like, if I have to edit the freaking thing at 2 a.m. because there's an emergency, I can do that. But I will edit one on 2 a.m. if there's an emergency. As time goes, you will build a library. And that is where I want all my clients to be, is to have that library. Like, I'm gone all of September on a 3-week trip to the Arctic. I know what my content's going to be in those 3 weeks. I need to adjust a couple of things and shuffle a couple of things, but I don't need to worry about or freak out that I will not be posting for 3 or 3.5 weeks.
Yeah. So that does lead us into consistency. So other than batching and kind of planning ahead, do you feel like there's other things that clients can do to become consistent? And one of my questions specifically is, do you think people overcommit to too much content and then that derails them being consistent?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. So my mantra is always, I'd rather have y'all posting once a week, a really good post, than committing to 3 or 4 times a week and then beating yourself up because you didn't do the first one and then why bother with the second one. That's just never going to work out well, neither short nor long term. But if we do something that is really attainable and with the support of a group, right, then once we have the once a week down pat and we have established a routine for ourselves or with our VAs, right, for me it's all about establishing these good habits that lead to success. So like I had the same client who gave me that wonderful compliment about showing up for his business, would just put Monday from I think 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. was just his creation time every single Monday, no matter whether he shot video or just wrote a whole bunch of newsletters. He's a prolific writer, but it was just his creation time was that time on Monday. And that was holy to him. He didn't touch that time. Nothing else went in there. And I find that like for me, I'm a huge fan of calendar blocking. That works really well for me. So I have every week, I have my 2 hours, mine are Sunday night, where I write the content of the next week. So I'm always a week ahead. I will block it out in my calendar as well. And like, so let's say we're doing a challenge in the fall, a content challenge, and that needs 7 pieces of content, of which most of them are video. So I'm going to batch produce all the videos together. And since I have my mindset there already, I'm also going to write the posts. You're doing these 4 interviews today, right? Your brain is in it. You're thinking about it. You don't have to rev up your brain again to go there. And you're already in that world of what you want to say and how you want to sell it and how you think people will understand best what the value is that you bring to them. So let's just knock it out of the ballpark and give yourself enough time. Because I have a client who does one-on-one video with me, and he always sends me video. He promised me video for today for a call for tomorrow. I know I'm going to get those videos 2 minutes before we get on the call. And then he's like, I couldn't perform well. I'm like, of course you couldn't perform well because you gave yourself a half an hour before the call with me. Give yourself a 3-hour window if you need to on Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning when it's nice and quiet. But you need to allow yourself to set yourself up for success. The 3-hour window might become a 1.5-hour window and a 1-hour window. Mm-hmm. But if you're not consistent, and this is a clearly algorithmic thing, if we take it back to LinkedIn, if you're consistent, the algorithm will know when your stuff comes. Oh, Nina's posting again. Yay. It is 10 o'clock on Tuesday, and we'll show it to more people. So the more you're consistent and the more you show up regularly. And that's why these LinkedIn engagement groups are so great, because you sort of have that peer pressure, engagement, inspiration thing going on of us all posting within the same time window, and then also giving each other some love on our content to make it percolate up a bit and not be posting to crickets.
Wow. This is amazing. I love
having a support group where you all help each other out, because it just makes total sense. As long as you have the same audience or you're reaching out to the same kind of people, you're just helping each other get seen. I love that.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be same necessarily. Like in my group, I have a couple of people who are totally left field and they profit from it too, because I also feel that it's important to sort of see, sometimes when we are in our own bubble a little too much, it becomes sort of too much of the same. So I think it's actually nice to sometimes, like I have one retailer in my group, I have a cyber expert in my group. I'm in another group that I don't run, where there is a, bless his heart, there's a financial advisor. I never know what to write on his post, but still it's like, oh, and then there's this world and there's these people who are also really important that service my kind of people, which are service-based entrepreneurs. So it's kind of nice to have a cross breeze going through every once in a while.
Now, LinkedIn has started asking for live video. Is that right? Is that something new to LinkedIn?
Not new. So live video has been around for a long time, but it was only available if you had your profile in so-called creator mode. Now that they're doing away with creator mode per se, now everybody has 2 or 3 months old, that everybody has access to live. Where LinkedIn differs from other platforms is that you can only stream through a third-party vendor, which has its advantages for sure. It's a bit complicated and there's a lot of steps to doing it. And I'm actually putting an SOP around it. But anyways, it is the best performing and the highest on the ranking of how much love content gets from the LinkedIn algorithm. Live is definitely on the very top of it. And it also trickles down to what you do right after the live. For a couple of days after the live, you keep having that elevated status.
Is that something that you need to like set up as an event and promote?
That's what I would recommend. Yeah. So the steps are sort of, once you have all the assets, you want to set up the event, and then you go onto the third party platform, and it lets you fold in the event into the platform, and then you take it from there.
Now, will you go back to hosting your live show, or was there a reason why you paused from that?
I paused last summer because I'd done 2.5 years of it. I felt that the topic, I wasn't inspired by it anymore. And I think it showed because 3 guests canceled in a row, short notice. Okay. And I'm like, okay, this is a clear sign that I need to reinvent it. And then I had so much content and so much going on, I didn't really miss it. I now have a co-hosted show with a client of mine. I'm going a little more into fine art photography, and she's an artist, and we want to bring the conversation about art to LinkedIn. So we launched last month, and tomorrow we have our second conversation, and we're inviting very strategically different people out of the art world that sort of fall into, I mean, we'll have some artists as well, but it's like curators, collectors, gallerists, architects. That tomorrow is an architect who builds with art in mind and public spaces for art. So it's just a nice way to, a very different conversation. But the beauty of it is, as I know from doing the podcast, is it's just endless amounts of content. Because you have the show, you're announcing the show, you're putting out snippets of the show, and before you know it, your calendar is full. And so that's a great way to get to consistency with your content too.
That's fantastic. And is there a limit on how long that live LinkedIn show can be?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure there is maybe 3 hours or something like that. I know that the ideal time is around 20 minutes, but I find that too short for a conversation with a guest. I think for a solo, that would be appropriate. But my guest things have always been about 45 to 50 minutes, because that is one thing I give to a professional editor, and make sure that I get between 3 and 5 clips that I can then use later on.
And is there a best day and time to go live?
Oh, live. I think it depends on your time zone. It depends. Like, a lot of us have become global. So what audience are we catering to? Like, I always have that my magic time is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. because I spend nearly half of my time in Europe. So I want to make sure that I have something that I can commit to, no matter whether I'm in Switzerland or I'm in New York. So that is sort of the 10 to 2 works really well for that. And then again, I think the consistency factor is the most important thing. If you want to attract a mom crowd, you're probably going to do it at 11 a.m. when the kids are in kindergarten. Or if you are attracting the commuter, you might be doing it in the morning when people are on their commute, or at 5 p.m. So I'm never too nervous if there's not too many people engaging, because I know that I'm using this for the afterlife of it more so than anything else.
This has been amazing. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about LinkedIn? And
follow me on LinkedIn, because I know it's not my website, and I'll be happy to give my website and my email as well. So by following me, Nina Froriep, I'm the only one on LinkedIn. That's a nice thing if you with an impossible last name like mine. So please just follow me on LinkedIn and send me a DM, direct message. I'll be happy to chat with you if you have any further questions. And my website is clockwiseproductions.com. That's also a great place to see a little bit more of what we do.
You also have a free offer, a free gift for our guest. Is that correct?
Yes. So the aforementioned 7 steps to a perfect LinkedIn post, and I trust you'll put the link into the show notes, is just a very simple little infographic where I took one of my posts and sort of numbered the different elements, a quick little description, what it is and why it is important to get it right. We have the same thing as a checklist for our clients, where we encourage them in the beginning when they start writing their posts that they have that handy to make sure that they don't leave anything out that is important.
Perfect. This has been fantastic. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you, Nina.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about what I love. So thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast. If you enjoyed listening to this episode and you are ready to leverage video marketing on all online platforms, or maybe even start your own video podcast, then you need to check out the Done For You and Done With You program at themarketingvaadvantage.com and take your business to the next level.